Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Eating from Alignment with a good friend, coach, and mentor, John Opolewski. How are you today, John?
Hey, Jim, I'm good, and I'm excited to
Uh,
continue our series, Leadership and today.
yes. Yeah, it's been great. I think of all these, maybe all of them have led up to this one. And that is we're going to talk today. I want you to introduce the topic and give us a little bit of a jump start
Yeah. So the topic is leadership and success. Uh,
here.
and boy, we live in a culture where success is important to people. Or to a lot of
Yeah.
people, not to all
Yeah.
people, but predominantly, I
Yeah.
think success is a big deal in our world, the world we live in.
Yeah.
And I think that in the business world, there are markers of success. A company that's financially profitable, while at the same time adding a lot of value to their clients and to their
Yeah.
employees. Um, I think companies that make a lot of money and don't take care of their employees are frowned upon.
Yeah.
More and more, as they should be, um, in my mind. And you know but success in business and success in ministry, there's some diverting there, right? There's a
Yeah.
difference. And I think one of the questions that's in the back of most pastors' mind, whether they're aware of it or not, is what does success in pastoral leadership or ministry leadership look like?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
it, and what measurables do we use to define it? Jim, what are some of the common, you know, common metrics that churches or
Yeah.
ministries use to determine fruitfulness?
Right. Well, I think the obvious one is how many you're running, John. Yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
you try not to ask it because there's ramifications to it, but you want to know. So how many you're running? We want to know about square feet. We want to know about dollars. We want to know about programs. We want to know about people. We want to know about staff. And the
yeah,
larger the number associated with those questions, I believe in many ways the larger at least the opinion might be of success. And I say this because it was the last time you were at a conference and someone who pastored a ministry that had really small numbers of those was platformed, was you bought their book, you listened to their podcast, so generally the people that have the most influence are those who have the most of these. And so we
yeah,
consider that the standard of success.
right. And I think that uh, I think you and I are on the same page here. That those kinds of metrics can't be the only measure of what matters.
No, we see
I
that we
mean,
see the disaster that comes when they are the
that's right.
disaster. Yeah.
That's right. And so what I'd like to talk about today is, if the church or ministry that you lead is growing and seeing wonderful things happening and a lot of good fruit, um, that we first of all rejoice with you over that.
Sure.
But secondly, we want to caution you
Yeah.
because success brings along with it danger.
Yeah.
And one of those real dangers is losing track of the real reason we're called to ministry.
Yeah.
I think Jesus kind of lays it out for us in Matthew 28, right? And he says,
Yeah.
go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have
Yeah.
commanded you. And I will be with you to the end of the age. You know, um, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. I had an epiphany, Jim,
Yeah.
uh, that God's definition of success is far different than mine.
Yeah.
And that was an aha moment. And I wonder
Yeah.
if those who are watching and listening today uh, are in the same, well,
Yeah.
or same thinking pattern. I don't know. What do you think about this whole subject before we get into some of the real nitty gritty of it?
Yeah. I just think it's huge. Because success creates a goal, it creates a vision, it creates a culture, it creates a dream. It's funny you're talking about that aha moment. I was thinking about Saul of Tarsus on his way, to go arrest more of the followers of Jesus, and he gets knocked to the ground, bright light, blinded, hears his voice, why are you persecuting me? He goes, who are you? He goes, I'm Jesus. You go, oh man, like I that's not an oh no moment. there's stronger language for that moment. And it's everything he was doing. Zealously and successfully and advancing, and he's being discipled by Gamaliel. I mean, this guy is
Mm.
he is Harvard Law. He is right up front. He's going to be the next senator from the great state of wherever. And now he realizes everything he's been working on is it's he's been putting his ladder against the wrong house.
Right. And
Yeah,
Jesus talks about this in Matthew 16. He says, "What will it profit a man if he gains
yeah,
the whole world and forfeits his soul?"
yeah,
Uh, and Jesus teaches us multiple times that our soul and the souls of those we lead are much more important
yeah,
than the size of the church, the magnitude of its bank statement, the flashiness of its programs,
yeah,
uh, and success, Jim, though desirable, fruitfulness, though it's something we all want to
yeah,
achieve, comes with this subtle temptation to see people as a means to an end.
yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. See, and it
Bodies
gets
and
ugly.
seats.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
gets ugly right
cog.
then.
It really
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
And 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 it's ugly for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons I think that it's ugly is people who are used that way. It's hard for them to come around and be
yes,
open again to serving and giving their time because they felt like they were just a cog in a machine
that's it.
or a robot. They
That's
weren't
it.
a real person.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
think about that, Jim? That thought?
I think that we formed the UAW in 1936 because we were tired of being used as robots, and the sense that the man or Henry Ford or Chrysler, whoever it was that was at the helm, was benefiting from this in a way that the worker was not. And I think if we're not careful, the church as well can become an assembly line where we fashion this and we fit that, and now you've been through this, now get to work. And so, me in my heart, John, if we need 5 more
Yes.
workers in the nursery, I get that. But find people that love babies. Don't go to your
Mm.
membership class and say you, and you, because someone who's supposed to be there will be rewarded in their heart by living out their purpose, and those who are not supposed to be there will feel used.
Yeah.
40 million people that went to church in the 90s are no longer going to church today, according to the last the book that I just read. 40 million, and 30 million of them, as I understand, would be willing to go back to church. They didn't defaith, they didn't deconvert. They left
Yeah.
the church, not Jesus or even scripture or even fellowship. Why is that? We're supposed to go there for fellowship, and they avoid it because something's been horribly wrong since the 90s. And I think it's my opinion, but I think the modern church growth, bigger is better, make it bigger, bigger events, bigger this, more numbers, more numbers. It's burned out a lot of people. And
Mhm.
I really think we've made some horrible mistakes. So I think back to what is success. Success cannot be numerical as it benefits me without there being some sort of a labor union formed to fight against the
Sure.
tyranny of being enslaved rather than adopted.
Yeah. Yeah. The Apostle Paul talks about this in Philippians chapter 2. Look not only to your own interests,
Yes.
but also to the interests of others. There's a
Yes.
mutuality, there's a win-win. One of our
Yeah.
values is win-win partnerships.
Yeah.
And we believe God is big enough for everybody to win in as he defines
Yeah.
winning.
Yes.
Uh, and so we're saying all of this to
Mm.
set up something that we really want to get to here, and that is this: when you are in a season of great momentum, be careful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can sneak up on you
Yeah.
and cause a great deal of damage to you. And I have two
Yeah.
here, Jim, that I want to talk about. The first one
Yeah.
is pride.
Yeah.
Pride.
Yeah.
One of the top seven, right? One of the most deadly sins is
Yeah.
this pride that can come when all signs are pointing to success. There are people
Mm.
who are coming to Jesus and getting disciple, and the
Yeah.
programs you're running are effective, and finances are booming. It's easy for our heads to get swollen.
Yes.
Um, And scripture has a great deal to say about this pesky little problem. It's not a little problem
Yeah.
of pride. Um, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel good when things are going well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. Celebrate,
Yeah. Yeah.
rejoice,
Yeah.
but guard against those feelings like this. Wow, I finally figured this out.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Mm.
or look what we did, and we don't include God's grace and help in that statement.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, or
Mm.
pride sometimes manifests like this, Jim. Success is so intoxicating, can be so intoxicating that I just keep taking on more responsibility. I keep
Right.
taking
Yep.
more. I'm
Yep.
riding the wave, and I have an overestimated
Mm.
uh ability, or an overestimation is the better word, of my
Yeah.
ability, my work ability,
Yeah.
and it's pride, like, oh, I can do
Yeah.
more, I can do more, I can do more. And
Yeah.
so this is one of the most common dangers that come to us. It's getting proud. What do you think about this one, Jim?
Huge. Yeah. Huge. I think any measure of success feels so good, you want to feel more of it.
Yeah.
Right. So, if a dollar is good, then two must be twice as good. If, 10 people is good, 20 people, must be twice as good. One staff member is good, then two staff members must be twice as good. I
Hmm.
think, though, you'll realize as you succeed, and we find this a lot, is people, once they reach their goals, they're not actually fulfilled in reaching
That's
those
right.
goals.
Hmm.
They, they kind of looked at those around them who claimed to be successes, modeled what they did, sometimes had the exact same results, but then they look in the mirror and they still don't really care for the person that
Yeah.
did it. What is success? It isn't that mysterious, is it? I'm sure you're going to give us some thoughts on what success really is,
Yeah.
but it isn't really what number will satisfy me. There is no number. How
That's right.
many? There is no how many. What accolade? What you could have more degrees than the average thermometer, but and that's wonderful. All these things are wonderful, right? But
Yeah.
it's not satisfying, and I think success is better defined as contentment than it is with ambition. I maybe,
That's good.
so go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say before I say it myself here.
Yeah, it's really good. I think that this kind of leads into the next trap. So pride's the big one, right? But kind
Yeah.
of the outworking of pride can be leading in our own strength. And I think that's
Yes.
the second trap.
Yeah.
When things are going well, it's very easy to work at a reckless pace.
Yeah.
We think we need to continue to run fast because we got to keep replicating the same results.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we work at a breakneck speed to make the ministry successful,
Yeah.
what really matters tends to suffer.
Yes.
This leading in our
Yeah.
own strength. Jim, I've
Yeah.
in my many years of doing work with pastors, um, m most of the guys that have gotten into trouble, real trouble,
Yes.
have done it not because they were inherently disingenuous, evil people. It was because they were tired,
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
exhaustion led them to make decisions they would never make if they were well rested.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so and so I think, it's very important to ask ourselves a few questions about this whole leading in our own strength thing. And I'm just going to throw them out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Here's one: who or what is getting our best energy as leaders?
Mm. Yeah.
And then a follow-up to that is, who or what is getting our leftovers?
Mm.
Here's another one: why are we doing the things we're doing? Is it love for God and for people, or is it a secret desire to be admired, to
Yeah.
be thought of as the man, the guy?
Right.
Um, and what fruit is resulting from leading in our own strength? Not just in our ministry, but even more importantly, in our personal lives.
Yeah.
In our
Yeah.
marriage, in our relationship with our kids. At the end of the day, Jim, success in ministry is defined very differently than worldly success. So you said let's talk about what it is. I'm just going to throw these out there, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah,
Success in ministry includes. Now, I'm not. This is not exhaustive, but this is
yeah,
four that came to my mind. One, upholding the reputation of Jesus.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In every area, right? This is not
That's right.
just on Sunday morning or the annual business meeting. This is every day. This is everywhere. This is everyone.
You got
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You have a if you have a church of 10,000 people and you damage the reputation of Jesus, I don't think you're successful.
yeah,
Um, Here's another one: the health and longevity of our most important relationships.
yeah,
I've heard success defined this way: being loved and respected by those closest to you.
yeah,
Here's a third one: faithfulness. Success in ministry includes faithfulness, showing up every day,
yeah,
whether you feel
yeah,
like showing up or not, whether you're seeing the
yeah,
results you want or not.
or not.
You know you have a calling. God hasn't released you from that calling. Success is you showing up.
Mm.
Somebody asked me, I don't know how long ago it was, 6 months ago. We've been really growing quickly in the last couple of years
Yeah,
uh, at Converge Coaching. And somebody says, well, how did that happen? And I said, well, the grace of God. He opened doors for us,
yeah,
all of these things. I said, but our piece of that was we just showed up.
yeah,
We were consistent over a long period of time. And that at some point, it all came together. And
yeah.
so faithfulness is success. And then fruit.
Yes.
And here, let me describe fruit the way I think
Okay.
about it. It's both qualitative and quantitative.
Yeah,
So there's a quality, right? There's a
yeah,
I would rather have 100 people who really love the Lord and who were pursuing Jesus than
yeah,
500 people who were just there for whatever and didn't
yeah,
have any passion for the Lord, right? Is 500
yeah.
people without passion for the Lord for 10 years more success than 100? No,
Right,
that have
right,
passion. So I don't know. What do you think about those
right.
four, Jim, as I threw them
Yeah,
out there?
it's funny. This was really prominent in my mind in youth ministry. I went in. I was from a church in Phoenix that was known as the fastest growing church in America for I don't know a decade or more. And so that's kind of what you have is bigger and better and more is successful. And by the way, no criticism at all of the leadership of that church. It was they're in the right place at the right time with the right stuff, and I'm grateful for everything they've done in my life. They built a foundation for me. But it was natural for me when I went into youth ministry to say, well, this is what success is. It's bigger, it's better. It's so there wasn't a youth group that I knew of that had 100 people in it. So I walked in, there were, I think, eight. But my goal was first 6 months to get 100 people. We reached 100 people in 3 months. The problem was we had ministry for eight, and we had 100. And very quickly, the inmates took over the prison. Very quickly, my prayer changed from God, give me the biggest youth group in Arizona to God, don't give me one more person that I can have ministry for. And I realized I built the top of the pyramid without building the base, and it was
Right.
swaying back and forth with the lightest breeze. So it's a shame that some of the kids were exposed to a youth ministry with an immature youth minister. That I'm sure that cost somebody something, but it was a lesson for me to say, now start building leaders. Ministry
Yeah,
for
very
people
cool.
has to predicate ministry to people. And but then that changed, right? So how big's your youth group? I was 100. Oh wow, Jim, that's amazing. 3 months, you must be an amazing youth pastor. Hey, I've got a friend looking for an amazing youth pastor. Oh, thank you, but I'm really satisfied. But my ego is getting bigger and bigger. Well, if they run into
Right.
me a month later, how many are running? I say 30. And I'm so glad those 70 punks didn't come back. They were killing me. My
Yeah.
pastor wanted to fire me. So it's I think God has the right to define success, but obviously He has, and it involves people, and not
Yes.
not as numbers, but as souls, as stories, as family. I would never treat my sons the way I treated those kids in that youth group. I would have loved them much more, but there wasn't enough of me to go around. I prayed for the wrong
Yeah.
thing. God honored my prayer, and in doing so, answered a prayer I never prayed. And I think there's a lot of people listening right now that maybe what's holding them back is the desire for the 1,000 people, and you're not taking care of the 20 that God's given you, or it's you got a
Yeah.
1,000 people, but you don't have ministry for them. You got to build that base.
So
Um,
good.
it's elusive, right? I think success today may look different than success is going to look tomorrow or yesterday. I think,
I think you're right about that.
yeah. I
Uh,
imagine
it,
the Levite and the priest that passed the guy laying on the side of the road in the parable of the Good Samaritan had successful days before that day and after that day, but it was the Samaritan that stopped that actually was the one that was successful
right.
that day. Jesus told the story. So maybe we start with a clean slate every day, and that's better than looking
I
at my
like it.
resume or looking at my dreams, but looking at today as a fresh series of mercies offered to me to serve my King and make him famous.
Yeah. And so, I think growth, organizational momentum, they're wonderful, right?
There, yeah,
But they can be dangerous.
they
And,
sure
and
are.
here's the good news. They don't have to be dangerous. You know, just
Yeah,
a couple of things. Walk humbly.
yeah,
Don't forget that the only reason you're doing what you're doing is because of the mercy and grace of God in your life,
right.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Walk humbly.
yeah,
Pace yourself wisely. I wonder sometimes, Jim, if workaholism and arrogance aren't wins.
yeah. I throw insecurity in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like somehow this whole thing, if I don't do this, this thing's going to come tumbling down.
yeah,
So pace yourself wisely. Take this posture. Look at what we did, Lord,
yeah,
instead of look at what
yeah,
I did,
yeah,
and and resist the temptation to gain success at the expense of the most important relationships in your world.
yeah,
Because when it comes to the end of it, not one of my clients is going to be around my deathbed.
yeah,
It's going to be, if Laura's still surviving, it'll be
yeah,
Laura. It'll be our
yeah.
boys, our granddaughters. That's who's going to be there.
That's going to be there
Why?
or not.
And so
Yeah,
why do I want to
yeah,
wait to invest in those relationships until that
yeah,
point? No, man, I want to, while I have health, I want to make sure that those relationships are healthy and well
yeah,
fed. So Jim, that's what I've got on this
yeah.
today.
Last Sunday, I said, what's the Lord saying to you? Last Sunday, the Lord showed me something that I feel is worth sharing, and that is we had some problem with the light somewhere in the building, and there's this young man who's wonderful, name's Austin. He was carrying, it must be a 20-foot step ladder. It's a huge, heavy step ladder. He has a 3-year-old son named Micah. So Austin is carrying this. He's bent over at a 45-degree angle carrying this. Micah's got his hand on the last step, and he's helping his dad carry the ladder. And I felt like the Lord said, "That's us."
Yeah,
That's like you're not. My yoke is easy, my burden is light, because I'm carrying 99.9% of the weight. You get to put your hand on it because I'm a good father. And when we're done, I said, "What'd you do when you're done with that?" He said, "I high fived and said, 'Thanks, son, for helping me carry the ladder.'" That's a good dad. And I think the
yeah,
same thing is true. Everybody listening, like, please understand. Yes, your hand's on the ladder, but you'd be wrong to believe you're actually bearing the weight, the substance. So do your part. It's a father son project. It's a daddy daughter dance. Do it well. Enjoy every minute of it. And in the end, when your father high fives you and says, "Good job," know that it's not, I couldn't have done this without you. I chose to do it with you because I love you. And
right.
maybe that success is at the end of this, the quality and fidelity of our works will be known by just two simple words: "Well done, good and faithful servant."
Yeah, that's so
Just be
good.
good, just be faithful. So thanks everybody. And thanks, John, for just 210 episodes, and it's getting better and better. You better be careful. You're gonna get really good at this and get a reputation. I'm just saying, this is getting richer and richer all the time. So we love you guys. We're praying for you. Keep your hand on the ladder. Remember who's bearing the weight. Remember that in the end, if everybody thinks you're a success, but Jesus, you're a failure. Everybody thinks you're a failure, but Jesus, you're a success. He gets the right to tell us who we really are. So serve under, with, and through by Jesus, and you'll never regret it. So tell your people you love them this week, and be a great spiritual father or mother, not just a leader. Be a servant, not a CEO. And God will bless you. So we are praying for you. We love you. Keep going as you continue to lead from alignment.